Okay, so let's do some snipping off the parts that are not needed on the pots, so they don't touch anything by mistake. And I'm gonna bend the thing that's gonna go to ground. I'm gonna ground all the pots together. So here I wanna have the thing a bit bended so I have some wiggle room in case the spacing is a bit different on the actual guitar body. So it's better to have a bit more than a bit less, but I think I overshoot a bit. I have a bit extra here. Okay, so now to the soldering, actually making it go on. Then I just do a little, put a little bit of solder there. It's probably going to be the grounding point for later, so it's gonna get, it doesn't need, it just needs to stick, and then when I put a lot of other wires there, it will be a huge big blob of solder. But for now, only trying to get away with as little as possible. And then to the next point, where I'm later gonna solder the capacitor as well. So yeah, and here I think I burned my fingers, so I held it in place with a pair of pliers. I learned my lessons and gonna hold the thing down with some pliers instead of with my fingers. Yeah, and here mounting the treble bleed capacitor, and there's also a small resistor. So that goes in between where, in the volume part. So that when you turn down the volume, you still get some sort of high end can bleed through. I guess it's how it will work, yeah. You see here as well, the cable is a bit longer than it needs to be, but there's some wiggle room. Yeah, and here I forget. I wanted this. I'm gonna have to hook it up to the tone pot, so I'll have to fix this later. But that's, of course, is the sort of age-old thing. I could also just ignore it and hook the tone pot up to the after volume pot. But that's sort of I guess that's what they used to do back in the day. That they did the tone after volume, or was it the other way around? I don't know. This is tone before volume. So yeah, here I'm soldering in that wire. Should have done that first, of course. Yeah, and here I have to do some advanced soldering surgery by sort of heating up the solder and pushing in the wire from underneath. It would have been a lot easier to do this with all the wires in the one go instead of doing this, but yeah. I mean, it's good practicing, because usually when you do things on an already functioning guitar, this is sort of the things you have to sort of tend to do sometimes. You have to add in extra wires into. Yeah. And this was a fairly large capacitor. So needs to see how to fit it in place, how it can sit. I also want it to be able, so I can bend it around, move it around a bit, so it can either go down or bend it up, or move it. So it's gonna. Yeah, and I realize there's gonna be some thing here, so just as well put on a little bit of heat shrink tubing, so in case it doesn't, if I bend it around and stuff, that part doesn't touch ground. Oh yeah. Here I think I realized that I need to I need more hands to hold everything in place, so alligator clip to the rescue. And again, I've learned my lesson. Use alligator clips instead of your fingers. You burn them less, and yeah, sometimes you run out of fingers to hold things in place with. So. Here I maybe go a bit overboard with the size of the thing, but it came loose before, so that's why also the camera move changed there. So now it should be good though. Actually, for most things, you usually don't need a lot of solder. I mean, it's not gonna be like it's not a stressed joint type that something's gonna tug on. It's gonna sit inside of a control cavity, so it's gonna be pretty well protected. So from sometimes more is more. And remove some extra so things don't touch in case, you never know. But I think the whole thing about actually soldering, if previous guitar I've forgotten to solder in the actual for the output jack, and it was just sitting by friction in the pots there. And that was kind of hilarious when I was like, well, it's some strange connectivity issue with the guitar, and then I was like, open it up, and oh yeah, it had come loose, and it was like, yeah, it was no solder. I just forgotten about it. Probably just checked, yeah, it works, and then yeah. Here I'm overdoing again the length of probably trying to figure out how much cable, but I mean it's always to have a bit extra, not enough. So more is more in this case. You can just and here I should probably use something like a plier or something, but I'm just to get it in place. Yeah. That's another thing. Is like this old school sort of cloth wiring is actually a lot nicer. It's, you can just push back the sort of the cloth, and you don't have to do it. Sort of the plastic wires are a lot more annoying to work with. And these also, I think that these sort of old school type of cloth wiring also tend to have a lot stiffer conductors in them. So it's easier to sort of like bend into shape, and they stay in shape as they are. And like this cheaper sort of plastic wiring tend to live its own life. And here I should only be using a tiny bit of solder because on this point there's gonna have to connect the pickup later on. So it's just to keep it in place. Yeah, and what I'm actually doing here is a blend pot here. So this is for the neck pickup, I believe it will be, and then it will be the bridge. For the bridge pickup, they're also gonna go to this blend pot. Yeah, and I'm trying to measure out how much wire I will need. So this is where the bridge pickup goes, right? Yeah, because it's flipped. Bridge pickups in the up, yeah. So basically, when it's in the neck position or bridge position, you will always have, the neck or the bridge, both will always be sort of active. But it sits here a pot in between, so when that pot is when it's on full, basically it's gonna have no resistance in that pot, and basically both pickups will be active, both neck and bridge will be active. But then as you turn it down, turn it up. How does it? No, wait, it's how. Yeah, when it's on full, and then. No, is it the other way around? Oh, yeah. No. It's not when it's on full. It's gonna be almost nothing, because it'll be a high resistance between these things. So how this is, hopefully I have to measure this. I realize I should have. Dangers of thinking that you know what you're doing, and then later on realizing, maybe I'm not so sure that I know what I'm doing. I should probably measure it before but yeah, when it's on full on 10, there should almost be nothing. Then the pot should have its full resistance. So and then when you turn it down to 1, it's gonna be, yeah, to the lowest is gonna be basically a short between. There's gonna be a short and be no resistance in the pot, and therefore both pickups will be on, and then you just like dial in how much. But I realized that I should double check